Okay, so moving on to problem 7b down here from homework 3. So same type of problem. This is one of those either or problems. So we have a 15-year-old bulldozer. If you've watched 7a, we're going to use it to make fire breaks. We use a 5% discount rate. In our first part, we looked at what does it cost to do no maintenance on it, and it just lasts 20 years. So every 20 years we have to buy one. We got a 15-year-old bulldozer. Or we do part 2 here, where a new dozer costs $300, the same, but it'll last 300 years here if we invest $50,000 in rebuilding it. Major repair and maintenance when it's 5 years, 15 years, and 25 years old. What's the present value of the perpetual periodic associated with aggressive maintenance of our bulldozer rather than just letting it run into the ground? So, just like the other one, we want to start with a timeline. And so here we are at year 0. We have a 15-year-old bulldozer. So time and age. Okay, and as we move forward in time, we have 5 years from, right now we have to maintain it. I'm going to put an M. The M means negative 50, right? And when I move out in time to age 25 in 10 years, I need to maintain it again. And then the next thing that's going to happen is in 15 years, when it's 30, I got to buy a new one. Okay, when the next thing I have to do is 5 years after that, 15 years out here, I need to maintain it because now it's 5 years old again. Okay, and sorry, that was 20 years in the future. 30 years when it's 15, I'm going to maintain it. And 40 years, it's 25, maintain it. Okay, and 5 years from there, I have to buy a new one. That's at 45 when it's 30. And then 5 from there, I'm maintaining it again. And this goes on and on and on. I should have used bigger numbers. But the one thing you need to see is that we have 2 series, and we need to account for that. So we can do 2 parts to the problem. So part 1 is the purchase. Okay, and if we look at our timeline here, that purchase looks like this. From 0 in 15 years, we buy. In 45 years, we buy. And in, what would that be, 75 years, we buy. And on and on and on and on. So what is it? It is not a one time, not every year, every n years. That goes on forever. All these are going to be using our perpetual periodic here. So let's write it down. VO equals A over 1 plus I to the n minus 1. And in this buying case, we know that A equals 300,000, I is 5%, and N equals 30 years. We're buying every 30 years, and we can plug that into our equation. So 300,000, 1.05 to the 30 minus 1, and we can solve that value. So when we solve that value, we get something that looks like 930861. But just like in our first one, that doesn't solve it where we want it solved. So that solves it, if we think about it, at the beginning of the first period, which is 15 years over here, right? So 30 years, 30 years, 30 years. So we would have to take that. This is really then a V negative 15, if you think about it that way, and we want a V0. So we can take our 9308.61, and we have to move it forward, 1.05 to the 15. And that will give us the value here of the new bulldozers, or 187,745.12. So that's part 1 where we're buying new bulldozers. Okay, first we crunched all these 300s into a single value 90. We then thought about where that was in time. It was at the beginning of the first cycle because this is what our equation looks like. And then to bring it over to 0, we compounded it 15 years and got our 187. So part 2 is the maintenance plan. And so that one, we have maintenance 10, maintenance 10, 20. Right? So maintenance 30, maintenance 40, maintenance. So it looks like it is irregular because it's just 5, 15, and 25. But really what we're saying is every 10 years we maintain this thing. So if you think about it, right, from 25 at 5 years, that's 10 years that it's played out. So what we really have is a perpetual periodic with an A of, what's our maintenance, 50,000, an I of 5%, and an N of 10. Or our VO equals 50, 1, 2, 3, over 1.05 to the 10 minus 1. Right? And that equals, do I have that one down? 79,504.57. Right? But if we do that, that crunches all of these to here. So it may be easier for me to recognize that I just haven't accounted for that one yet. Right? I haven't got, jiggle, I haven't got that one. So I've crunched all these to here, but this one's left out, the 15 that I have to pay right now. So I can add that on because it's in the same year. Oops, that's just an extra 50,000. And my total maintenance then is 129,504.58. Okay, so we got our 2 parts. We got buying new ones, we got maintenance. We can total that, and we get 187,745.12 plus 129,504.58 equals, moving off the page there, 317,249.69. So there we have it, our 2 parts. So if we buy only new ones every 20 years, the present value of that, which is a cost, is $377,000. If we maintain it, spending $50,000 a year and get an extra 10 years out of each one, we're looking at $317,000. So your boss has asked you which one you would prefer, and we could say the aggressive maintenance. Why? Because it costs us, present value terms, $60,000 less. That's $60,000 we can spend on other things. And so I hope that helps, and see you guys in class.